Okay, so we are live on Facebook on the Voices of Strength page. We already got 9 people on with us, so it's quick. I usually give it a couple minutes so that people can join us. And if you guys are watching, please feel free to share this to your page with your friends who might need to see this, and then in any groups you may be a part of. That will be great. I'm going to share this in our event real quick, and we will get started, guys. Okay, we got about 18 people on. You guys, when you join us, feel free to say hello to us. If you guys are also an impacted family, feel free to share your loved one's name with us and where you're watching from. And yeah, just share this video for us, guys. Help us get this out there and viewed by as many people as we can.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining today.
Ooh, we got a lot of people coming now. We're already at 26 people. Okay, we'll get started. So hello, everybody. My name is Marissa, and I'm host of the Voices of Strength series. And I started this series, I lost my brother in 2017 at the hands of Woodland Police Department. And I created this platform to invite families on so that they can share their loved ones' stories, share the truths behind their killings and what they have experienced. So today we are talking about the life of Nicholas Farah, or is it Farah? I'm sorry.
The second one, Farah.
Farah, I meant to ask you earlier. Farah. And we have his brother, Eric, with us today. So Eric, if you can please introduce yourself with us, let us know where you're from.
Yeah, my name is Eric Farah, brother of Nicholas Farah, who was killed in the hands of Las Vegas Metro, March 31st, 2019. I live in Phoenix, Arizona with my parents, and we're originally from Appleton, Wisconsin, and have a lot of relatives and friends and family there. So thank you to all of our friends and family who are joining us today and who have continuously been super supportive along this journey.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing that. And I just want to let people know we are recording this live on Facebook, and we will be posting it on YouTube as well. We have all of our other previous episodes. We're on 15 on YouTube for anybody who would like to catch up on those. And we host a different family each week. So I thank you for being with us today, Eric.
Absolutely. I wanted to thank you for your time and your dedication to this. I know your story is also very valuable. You had lost your brother to police violence. And I think the biggest thing that's important to what we see in impacted families is the support and just getting the story out there so other people and other families and other communities realize what happens and what can happen and what isn't always told, and some of the struggles that go on in the families day to day. So I really thank you and your platform, and I appreciate everything that you've done to put together all your stories before. So thank you.
Yeah, thank you for that. And I do want to let the viewers know, we see you guys leaving comments. There's already a bunch of comments saying hello, and people that know you, people that know the show, and we might not get back to all the comments but you guys are feel free to ask questions or leave comments as we go. There are a lot going, but we will check them out after. And I recommend you, Eric, and your family to also check out the comments and see what people are leaving. You'll see a lot of impacted families in here also.
Yeah, and I noticed Nick's oldest daughter, Ella, is on. So big shout out to her. So
hi, Ella.
Keep her in our prayers.
Yeah, and that's the first thing I want to do. Just offer, I see your family was coming on. So I want to send my condolences to you guys all. And thank you guys for letting us share Nicholas's story today.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I think that because one of the biggest things in Nick's life was his daughters. Elo was 13 at the time, and his youngest daughter Elijah was 9. So those were, you see him in my background picture. Those were, his everything. So that's what he lived for day to day, and still what we do everything to protect them and making sure that they're taken care of.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for sharing that. And, again, everybody's talking about her, Nicholas's daughters who are in the photo with him.
Yeah, and I
And
know your brother had had a daughter or 2 daughters, right?
yeah, 2 daughters, one about the same age as Ella. So, I just want to shortly remind people about the kids here, the kids that are left behind, and many people that are killed by police have children, and they need to be remembered and uplifted through this. And they need to know the truth too behind what's going on. Okay, so I'm gonna show a video while we're speaking so that the viewers, you guys can see some photos of the family and while we're speaking. So I'll disappear for a minute while that's playing, so don't mind me. And let's go ahead and get started talking about your brother, talking about growing up, share some things about him that you'd like to share with the viewers.
Yeah, so I think the thing to kind of get in mind for the people who didn't know Nick or didn't know our family, Nick was very outdoorsy. He kind of liked anything to do with art, music, gems, and things like that. So he liked kind of going up to, we have a place in a cabin kind of in northern Arizona, or sorry, northern Wisconsin, where he would go up by the lake, and he would take his daughters go fishing, and they would go looking for different rocks or gems or minerals, and he would take those, and he had a big item for kind of making like little pieces of jewelry out of it. So he actually went to gemology school, and then some welding classes so he could learn how to make jewelry. And he took a lot of passion in that. So he would use those as gifts, or he would make hand pieces. So he's done that for his daughters and myself and my dad and his kids. So that was always pretty cool. He had a big, huge fan of music. Anything, he loved going to like outdoor concerts or just like listening to music. I think just growing up at his house, like he wouldn't even have like the TV on. He would always have music playing now. So I think that was like a really cool thing.
That's awesome. And you know what? I have an interest in gems and stones. My friend made this one. So that's really cool to hear. That's really cool. Yeah. I'm gonna get this video playing in the background. So tell me about, so you lived in Arizona, he was in Wisconsin, and how was your guys' family? Like, were you guys close? I know he was close to his daughters, as you shared, and share a little more maybe about your parents. And
yeah, so we all grew up in Appleton, Wisconsin. Just a normal family. Went to regular public school of Appleton. Is about 80,000 people. So it wasn't anything big, but we always did whatever. He did play some sports kind of growing up, so we did some sports. But then we did a couple of family vacations to Florida, where we would drive down to Florida, and me and my brother would just play like kind of video games in the car rides down there, and did things like that. One of our biggest things that we always loved was going up to our cabin in northern Wisconsin, to kind of just, whether it was snowmobiling or fishing or just swimming, boating, tubing, those kind of things. So it was just like a really cool thing where we kind of grew up, living a very simplistic life. I ended up moving to Arizona. I went to school at Arizona State, and my brother and my parents kind of continued to live in Wisconsin. My parents kind of became snowbirds, where they kind of live in Wisconsin for part of the year, and then they live in Arizona for part of the year. So they still do that. So that's kind of our family dynamic. While Nick kind of stayed home and made sure that he was close with his daughters and around them. But we did get to still see him, and he would continue to kind of travel out to Arizona and actually vacation with his daughters as well. So we would always kind of encourage them. And spring break is usually always one of the things that we always look forward to when the girls have some time off, so that way we can all kind of see each other, for that time.
Sweet. That's awesome. Thank you for sharing. And that sounds fun. You guys sound like you guys had a good childhood and the outdoor stuff. I love that kind of stuff. And then with the photos that I just played, you could just tell the love for his daughters. You can tell by the way he's holding them and hugging on them and loving them. And who was the older brother?
So my brother was actually the older brother. So he was the witty one. I was trying to make sure to learn in the foot tracks of making sure, what to do. But, he kind of always, kind of went through the ringer first. And then I tried to learn, behind. I think your brother was older as well, right?
Yeah, my older brother as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, we kind of just learned under the wing of, of them. And, so that was always cool to have like an older brother, to someone to kind of look up to and kind of always, know, kind of how to handle situations. And if he needed something, you could call him and talk to him about.
Yeah, that's definitely what older brothers are for, and gosh, it's crazy. We lived our whole lives with them, and then to be taken this way, it's just, it's hard, and more than that.
Yeah, for sure. It's something that I think one of the biggest things that I always tell people when I'm telling his story is that me, you, and all the other impacted families across the nation never thought we would ever be in this situation. And that's, people always think, well, it's like, well, well, how did this happen? And it's like, none of us could have ever imagined that. We would have never, I would have never expected to be on a Zoom call or be part of some of these groups or part of these movements to kind of make changes. And it happens in every community, and it can happen to, unfortunately, any family. So, that's why I try to have people look at things with an open mind and try to have people kind of know what's happening in their community and ways that it can make things change, and how you can get involved and things like that. And I think that's probably one of the biggest things about your platform is you kind of allow people to share their stories and have people understand what's happening in these different communities, and how this is really impacting the different families as well.
Yeah. No, thank you for hitting that. It's really important. And sharing our stories, one thing that made me want to create something like this. My brother was killed in 2017, so it's been 4 years. And when my brother was killed, it happened like most of the police killings. There's a false narrative in the beginning, and a lot of times the communities listen and run with that, and that's the look and that is left on our community from our brothers. And it's really hard navigating through that when you find out that's not how it happened, and that our brothers were wrongfully murdered. I refer to my brother as murdered as I found out the truth. And we got a lot of people saying hi, sharing love, and lots of families and your supporters on here as well, your family. So thank you guys for all being here.
Yeah, thank you guys all so much. I think it's important to kind of, I really just appreciate it. I know our family appreciates it, my parents and our family and his daughters. It's always been an outstanding group of love and support. So thank you all for standing by us. We're almost 2 years in, but we're far from the end of the fight. So we're just beginning the fight. And as Marissa knows, that the fight goes on for a long time, and we will fight to the end of us.
Yes.
And I think that's one thing that people don't realize is it's not just a quick battle, or it's not just a case here, a case there. Marissa, you've been dealing with this for 4 years.
Yeah.
So it just goes to show that, this is, I mean, we know this is going to go on for a long time.
Yes. And with that being said, I want to give a shout out to the other impacted families and the many families who have been here before me. I know mothers that have been here 20 years, 15 years, 10 years. And essentially our stories are very similar, how they go down. And that's one thing that this show is important to me, that we get to share our experiences. Most people don't ever get to hear that. And a lot of these killings get brushed under the rug. So much love to the impacted families out there and those who have mentored me along the way, and the new ones. There's new ones on here too that are joining us right now as well. So let's go ahead and start talking about what happened, what led up. I know you guys were on a family vacation before this happened. So if you can kind of share what led up to this.
Yeah, so it kind of goes back to always just kind of trying to do like a spring break, or seeing the family kind of together, and seeing his daughters and seeing us to group. So did a family vacation to California, where we did a 3-day cruise to Ensenada, and then afterwards 3 days in Disneyland. It was an awesome time, amazing time. We really enjoyed spending time with each other. At the end, they were flying back to Wisconsin, and me and my wife and my parents were driving back from LA to Arizona. In the matter of Nick and his family going back to Wisconsin, he was separated in the airport. We don't know exactly what had happened, but we think maybe he got stuck. He went to the bathroom and then got stuck in security, and he didn't make it to the gate in time to catch the flight. So it wasn't the big deal. They ended up rebooking him onto another flight. They had a flight. The next available flight out was into LA to Vegas, and then Vegas to Wisconsin. So he ended up having a little bit longer of a layover in Vegas. He had an 8-hour layover in Vegas. So when he got to Vegas, he didn't have a cell phone battery anymore. His battery fell out on the way to the airport. So we believe that, he wanted to be connected, or let his family know kind of what happened, and that he was going to be okay. So we believe that he went to it. He got a taxi. He left the airport, took a taxi to an outlet mall. He didn't go to the strip, or he didn't go gambling. He wasn't at the casinos or anything like that. So I know there was questions when people assume that when you're in Vegas, you're on the strip and you're doing this and that. That wasn't the case. He went to an outlet mall. Somewhere between the outlet mall and the next hour or so, he was assaulted. He had a backpack with all of his belongings in there, and so that entailed, his valuables, his money, his wallet, his cell phone that he may have gotten a battery for, may have not have, and anything that he had on him. So that was kind of the start of it. He had went into a La Quinta hotel, which was the closest kind of public area that he could find, and wanted to make a report that he had lost his stuff. One of the biggest things about Nick is he's not like a tattletale, and he doesn't ever want to get people in trouble. That's like the last thing that he wanted to do. So he's very like, he's always just wants to do good for everyone, and just do good for just the community. So one thing that he calls the police and says, I was just assaulted. I lost, my bag was stolen, my personal belongings were stolen. And number one, I don't want to press charges. I don't want anything wrong to happen to that person. I don't even care, what happens to that person. I just want my stuff back, was his main thing. And so that I thought was really just admirable about him, and the kind of person he was, is, he wasn't about revenge or trying to get something back. He just wanted his belongings, and he wanted his money so he can get back to the airport. So he calls Las Vegas Metro Police, and he's asking. Actually, he doesn't have any money to get back to the airport. So he starts asking Metro if they'll give him a ride. um, the dispatcher tends to almost like laugh at him and jokes and says like, we're not like Uber, we're not your taxi company, you need to find your own ride. um, you could tell that he didn't really want to hang up the phone. He didn't really have any other solution. Again, he just lost all of his money, he just lost all of his belongings. um, so he's kind of sitting on the phone waiting for them to like for help and say, hey, like, will you help me? Is there any other way, like any other solution that we have? Again, he's trying to figure out a way that he can get to the airport. It's not within walking distance. So that walking isn't a question um, to get back to his flight. Um, they kind of just continue to laugh at him and tell him that they have to let him go. They can't stay on the phone with him any longer. Um, and so but he continues to try to talk to him and into seeing if he can get a ride or if they have any other solutions. And they just flat out refused him. And so he lets him go. He hangs out and he's kind of sitting in the hotel trying to figure out a solution and figure out, how am I going to get back to the hotel? The hotel gets a little bit agitated and, just says they don't really want him in this lobby anymore. It's only been, maybe about 15, 20 minutes. And they call the cops back and say, we kind of want him to leave. He's trespassing, and can you ask him to leave? So the cops arrive. Now they arrive in person, start interviewing him and asking him, what's happening. And he tells them, what happened. And asked, can I get a ride to the airport? I just need to get back. I need to get on my flight to get back to Wisconsin to be with my family. And, they kind of just laugh at him and just say, no, we can't, we can't really do anything, but would be more than happy to give you a ride to, the detention center in jail. And at that point, they've even have commented and told them and joked around with him how respectful and nice he's been with the officers. And so it's just very crazy about how this situation kind of escalates as he gets arrested. He gets put into the back of the car, and then that's where it goes bad. They bring him into CCDC, which is Clark County Detention Center. He's brought into the Sallyport, which is the Sallyport is a big garage that is in the jail. So he's actually driven right into the jail. And as they take him out, they essentially, this is where the power and the authority kind of comes in from the detention centers, and they drag him out of the SUV, and they put him into they directly drag him into a restraint chair. They start to immediately buckle him in. They put multiple straps around his waist and his legs and his chest. And there's 4 officers standing around, 4 detention center guards, and they immediately press down on his shoulders and his back, and they hold him down with his essentially his head between his knees. Within about 75 seconds, he essentially goes limp and unconscious. By the time that they bring him up, about 2 minutes later, he come up and he was already black and blue in the face and had no pulse. Why they held him down for so long? They were trying to get his pair of handcuffs off him from the back. But again, there's no right that should ever been an issue, or that they should have ever even held them down for that extended period of time to begin with. That's not part of the policy or procedure. And then there was also 2 medical assistants standing by, making sure that he was okay, and they never acted or ever stepped in to making sure that he was okay. As a matter of fact, they kind of just watched and were almost turned in the other direction. The restraint chair is extremely common, and they do put people there a lot, people who are undeserving, but they do it as a power trip and an authority move. to show them that they're in charge, that they want to be heard, and that you will listen to them no matter what. I've heard stories of people being put in there for hours, and they don't care if they can't breathe or if they go unconscious. That's just part of their normal routine that they do. And so by the time that they took him out, he had lost consciousness, and his pulse was already done. So after several minutes after that, then they looked into giving him medical attention. It was already too late. They had taken him away in an ambulance to the local hospital, and unfortunately, everyone knew, and from the video you could tell, he had already passed away from what's called positional asphyxia, is the technical term, and that was, the medical examiner had later ruled that it was a homicide due to positional asphyxia, which is essentially means that he was killed by someone else due to the reasons that he couldn't breathe due to him being held down. So I know even your brother was held down at some point with a knee to his back, and
Yeah.
This is a very common move, and we saw it with George Floyd, and we've seen it with a lot of people kind of in the past couple of years, that the way that people their breath is taken away, and that it's being how it affects people in a way they don't realize, how people have different breathing problems. It's kind of wild.
Gosh, that's a lot. That's a lot. Thank you for sharing that with us. And my goodness, for people watching too, there is a video there. I watched it after I spoke to you the other day, Eric, and it's inhumane. I've seen so many now, so many videos, so many, I've seen my brother's, it's partial video, but it's full audio. And I just don't understand how any decent person could even do this to a human being, or to anything, any animal or human. And we hear of these a lot.
Yeah, the worst thing is he's screaming for his life. He's gasping for his last breath of air. Like many other people, and like a lot of other people who are placed in the restraint chair, they are all yelling for help. Like George Floyd was yelling, "I can't breathe." A lot of these other people are all telling officers that there's a serious issue, that that you are taking your last breath away from them.
Yeah.
And they don't resist. And the bad part about this story and a lot of the other stories is there's multiple other people standing around, either aiding in or not helping out.
Mm-hmm.
In this case, there was 4 detention guards, 2 other medical trained people, and other people around that all witnessed it and all turned their back. And I think that goes to say, in a lot of these other cases too, that happens. But people need to speak up, and when they realize that something is going wrong, or that people are being mistreated and inhumanely, like please say something. And that's what really needs to change in law enforcement and detention centers and anywhere. To speak up if there's something wrong, and hopefully you never know, you could save a life.
Yeah. So many people there. It's hard to understand how not one person can speak up for them. With my brothers, there were 5 officers involved there, and they all participated. And they also, he was being mocked while he was dying, being killed. And like most, as I go deeper into more cases, that seems to be normal. They mock them while they're killing them. And it's horrible to think that was our brothers' last moments before they pass. It's hard for me to hear you guys' stories just as much, as it is to think of my brothers.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's part of the movement here, and what kind of what happens. They went through following that, they kind of went through a smear campaign against my brother. You know, they don't ever want to talk about, what really happened. They tried to brush it under the rug. They had to go public with it because it happened in the detention center. There was a lot of video. There was only the thing that, was really saved our family and save any hope that we could get some answers was that there was a lot of video. They pretty much, they were required by law to come out and provide that. So we were, it was a tragedy to see, and we still are horrified by it. So I don't recommend people watching it unless they, but it's pretty horrible. But it shows that, there is things that happen, and they don't ever like to tell the story. And if you ask, there was a bunch of media afterwards that asked them a bunch of questions, and, they really just say, what their story is. And they don't ever want to tell, any other facts about, that of what happened. And I think that's one of the craziest things. And I know that you've gone through this a lot, is what really happened. How do we tell the real story, and how do we, get that story out there and find out, how we can uncover the truth and figure out, if what was done is right or if it was wrong. And when I think in all of our cases, we always know that it was always wrong, that no one should ever have to die in the hands of justice or in the hands of any kind of law enforcement. If there's a situation that goes wrong, violence and death is should never be a solution or an outcome.
Yeah, I definitely agree. And then just want to point out too that both of our brothers were in handcuffs when they were killed. And to me, it's just insane. Like, your brother was in the restraint chair in handcuffs still. My brother had 5 of the officers on top of him, and 2 of them were sitting their whole bodies on him. And I can't believe this keeps happening. They didn't tell it, at first we didn't know the exact details, but they start coming out. And that's one thing I always said, is the truth will come out from day one. I knew the things they accused my brother of in their first narrative were absolutely not true. And I was right. And the evidence has begun to come out, but we've had to fight for it. And after 3 years, we got to see the audio and video and it showed the truth. I want to ask you if you can share what the first narrative they started releasing about your brother was, and then also how you and your family found out.
Yeah, I just wanted to touch base back on one thing that you had just mentioned, is that it took 3 years just for you to get information in audio and video that's public information. That is insane. I've known some other families that I've also met who are still looking for information, videos, and public information 10 to 15 years later.
That can't get it. Yeah.
They won't.
That's
they won't get it.
One thing we talk about sometimes. It's like if we get the videos, we see it and we know it, but then a little bit, we have to be a little thankful that we actually get it so we can know the truth, unlike a lot of families that are just left not knowing the truth. So it's hard.
That's crazy. Back to your question. They were able to identify him. They knew his name, and he had a couple tattoos. One of them was like a Grateful Dead tattoo, and a couple other music tattoos that he had. So they were able to identify him, and unfortunately, they called my mother. She was the point of contact. They were able to identify him that way, and just what a horrible phone call to ever get. They were very brief. They didn't share a lot of information. They kind of just said, there was an accident, and then they tried to really start to pry for information and try to get, have us give up information, and before they had to release and tell their story and release the information about what happened. And I think that was one of the crazy things too, is they tried to play really nice. They tried to be our buddy and tell
Yeah.
us, like, we're on your side, just help us out, tell us this or that. When they didn't disclose the information that they had accidentally killed him. They didn't tell us that at all. So when we were figuring out the situation about what happened, we were still diving into it. And I think that was really difficult to figure out. It went from a really painful experience that our family felt to a lot of anger and frustration. It was like, how could how could something so wrong and so uncalled for, how could this possibly even happen? That is just like that was the thing that once we started seeing it, was like that there was no need. There's so inhumane, so wrong. Um he was he was cooperating and helping, is like, and here this is your resort to of the situation. um like, how wrong in the system, in the policies, and what they were trying to do. So that was really what kind of sparked it, and really led to us going down this path of trying to figure out what happened, how did this go wrong, and how can we change it, and kind of moving forward. So I'll touch base a little bit as we kind of progress along in the story about where we're at now, and some
Yeah.
things that we're trying to do to help.
Yeah. So you guys were already in your states, your different states. How that I can imagine not being able to be together. And I know the daughters were in a different state than you. And your mom is the one that received the call. Is that right?
Yeah, my mom was the one that received the call. She was actually at work. So my dad went to go pick her up, and then I went over to their house. So I got to go over there, and um, there was a lot of tears shed, a lot of somber moments, a lot of hugs, and a lot of questions. Um, and then, yeah, the call had to come to the mothers of the children, and it was excruciating. It was the worst thing ever, to ever make that phone call to them and let them know that something had happened. Um, and it the amount of tears and sadness and things like that happened is uncontrollable. There's still times that we ask the same questions that we were asking that same day, of why, how could this be, why could this happen? And I know a lot of other families, including yourselves, of impacted families, all think the same. It's like, how could this possibly have happened? And like, just doesn't make any sense.
Yeah. Yeah. I want to share real quick. Your niece left a comment and she says, this incident, losing my dad in this type of way as a seventh grader, was horrible. So I wanted to read that for everybody to hear that. And I just want you to know, Ella, like, we don't know you yet, but believe me, all these other impacted families on here and many that are not on here, we all support you and your father and your family through this. And just stay strong. Gosh, it's really hard for me with the kids. I have, with my niece, it's hard for, how do you talk to kids about this? And they shouldn't have to go through that.
It's excruciating. We try to talk about it, and it's really tough. I get really emotional about it.
I still can't barely talk to, it's very
Oh,
hard for us to talk about it. We do, but it's very hard.
yeah, I know, and she's doing great. She goes to counseling very often, um, and talks about it, and able to talk to a professional about it, where they can give her some guidance, and know that we're always there, and we love her, and we love everyone in the family. So that's super super important. And so we will never be the same, be able to fill in the footsteps, but we can help fill in the love.
Yeah. Yeah. And just seeing what kind of, you can tell from the pictures what kind of father he was, the way he holds his daughters, the picture back there. It's hard to think that those kind of fathers are just gone from their family, stolen in this way, and that there's videos out there and the stories out there just for the world to see. And
Yeah, and I think that kind of goes on to the next part of the story, I think, is that all these officers have never been charged and never found any wrongdoing of anything. How can you continually take lives away and never think that there was ever anything wrong done? I think they were put on leave for a little bit, paid leave, obviously, and then they came back. We've even had a person who knew my brother's story coming back and tell us that one of the same people has also put him in the restraint chair and told
oh
them
my
that
gosh,
don't make me do what we've done before.
oh my goodness.
So it just shows that these people are in there maliciously trying to hurt people when it's totally unnecessary.
Gosh, that's crazy. With my brother's story too, I reached out to community like about the officers and got a whole bunch of stories as well, specifically about 3 of them that had more complaints. But I often think about we know about the people that are killed, but we can't even imagine how many people have been assaulted or harmed in this way. And many who don't even speak out, who won't, I've had so many people tell me their stories about a police brutality incident or whatnot, and that they've never told anybody.
Yeah, I think one of the biggest things too that I want to point out is I really do respect law enforcement and the people who do the right thing at the right time, and they do the right thing always. It's the bad people, the bad apples in the bunch, but it's those bad apples that need to be held accountable for it. And so the way that the system is set up, where there can be no accountability for any of them, whether you're a good one or a bad one, and that's the worst part about it. So if there is the bad one, just like in any job or any a doctor or anyone that if a doctor makes a mistake, they're still held liable. The law enforcement is the only profession that you are not held liable for wrongdoing and for taking someone's life, and that's what continues to take these lives of innocent people over and over again. There's thousands and thousands of cops, and the indictment rate is so low. It's like,
Yeah.
Marissa, you may know, but I think it's like 1 out of 1,000 or 1 out of several thousand that they ever even maybe get a charge brought against them.
Yeah, I believe it was 0.3. I think that's what I heard Nisa say recently. Shout out to Nisa. But 0.3%.
Yeah, so it's just crazy about how many times that some of the bad apples can continue to harm society and the community, and they continue to take lives. And some of them, they're the repeat offenders. They do this over and over again.
Yeah.
Those are the ones that we want to get removed. Those are the ones that we want, taken care of. Obviously, the other 90, the rest of them are great. They protect and they serve and they do great. But we really need to figure out a way to get the bad ones out and hold them accountable for what they're doing and what they've done.
Yeah, I think this is a whole different life when we are introduced to this once our loved ones and our brothers were killed. And I don't think I didn't realize how bad it was before. I didn't realize that the cops can get away with abusing or killing people. And that's the problem. Like, we wouldn't be where we are at today if they were held accountable. I know with my brother's case, if someone sat there and it was a fair trial or investigation, criminal trial, it would be, the evidence is there, that those officers should be, just like with your brothers, should be behind bars and charged, and they don't. Yeah. So that's why we're here. And there wouldn't be as many killings.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that kind of brings me to our next point. And you mentioned shout out to Nisa. Nisa is with Force Trajectory Project. She's a local activist in Las Vegas that has started a group called Families United for Justice Las Vegas. It's a group of about 40 family members and survivors of police brutality and police violence, almost all of which have occurred in Las Vegas by Las Vegas Metro Police Department. So we have kind of tried to band together and tell our story and figure out how we can help each other out, and realize that there is a group of, like I said, over 40 families and members that just in Las Vegas alone in the past couple of years who have been affected and have lost loved ones, and none of them have ever been held accountable or have ever had a conviction rate. So I think that just goes to show that there's this huge thing about, these groups that we can hopefully get together and kind of realize that there is a problem. And I think that's a really great thing that's been great for myself and my family is being part of Families United for Justice, is trying to figure out how we can help each other, how we can help these other families, how we can be a support system, and the roles and things that we can do to try to help make the world a better place. One of my biggest things is trying to get the restraint chair removed from all detention centers, to start with in Las Vegas, and then obviously nationwide. And the restraint chair has been removed from several other cities. It doesn't exist in Salt Lake City, some places in Utah. It's been banned in Arizona, and it's been banned in a couple other places. So they've realized that this is a huge problem. They've all gone through the same similar situations where they have killed innocent people from it, and they've had to take this path of removing it. So why would not these other places and other cities follow and realize that this isn't a good way to restrain someone, that they're and especially in this position. Why does it still exist, and why hasn't this been changed? That just doesn't make any sense. Like, if people are dying from this method, why would you continue to keep doing it? So recently we've, with the Families United for Justice and other things, we're kind of always partnering and working with the ACLU of Las Vegas. The NAACP is part of this other groups, other coalitions. But myself personally, I've worked with a senator in Las Vegas, Senator Harris, and I'm trying to do some get her to listen that the restraint chair is an issue, and that hopefully we get some language in one of the upcoming bills this year to restrict the restraint chair. So that is a huge push. It's hopefully going to be the language is hopefully getting put into it. So anyone in Las Vegas or anywhere else, that's something we're really, really pushing for, and we hope for your guys' support on that. And we're going to continue to hope that Senator Harris will support our bill to get some push and get some change moving.
That's great, and thank you for sharing that. I know I admire what you guys are doing out there, and what Nisa and them are helping put together, Families United for Justice Vegas. And I got to visit Vegas last year and meet some of them and some of the families. So it's a great bunch. I really like how I feel like they're one of the groups that do uplift the families. And there are not many that do this work. And it's hard for impacted families to do it alone. Like, we get thrown into this and we have to navigate through everything. So that's definitely it looks solid what you guys are doing out there, your regular meetings, you guys working on the policy changes and everything.
Yeah, it's really a lot. And it's, when you have so many families, you can kind of take turns and kind of help each other out. I know, there was a protest about a year ago, and and someone was actually shot and gunned down and killed. It was Jorge Gomez. We're doing a big press conference helping support the Jorge Gomez family this Friday in Las Vegas. So anyone in Las Vegas who's looking for that, we're always looking for continual support and get some answers. There was he was gunned down at a protest, at a peaceful protest, and there was all this video coverage of all these from federal buildings and all these other buildings, and they have yet to release any of the documentation or videos or information. So it's been a year, almost a year, and their family has almost zero to little information, and that is what is wrong with society and the community of needing police reform.
Yeah. Thank you for mentioning that story. That I actually went to Vegas, I think the week or so after that happened. And I am friends with some of his family on here. So yeah, again, anybody in Vegas that can support, please do. And then I know you guys will probably be doing some type of live streaming from there. So I'm more than happy to share that from our pages and ask other families too as well to support the family.
Yeah, and one other cool thing that Families United for Justice kind of did recently is they worked in a collaboration with Deserts Arts Coalition, and these local artists were so sweet and so amazing. They did portraits or different artwork to represent the family, and we were able to get a spot in the West Las Vegas Library. And there's an art exhibit going on until the end of March. And it's so cool. Nick's portrait with his daughters is published there. And then Emily Budd had made some orgonites with some of his belongings into it. They're kind of like little gems.
Wow.
It kind of reminds me of the necklace that you have.
Oh,
And so it's really cool. So those are on exhibit till the end of March in Las Vegas. So I'm really excited. I couldn't thank Desert Arts Coalition enough for their help and support. So again, these are just little things that we're kind of trying to do to share Nick's story and to kind of get it out there in the community. And the local support and the families have always been so amazing, along with our families and everything that we've been with. And just other families that we've all connected with. I know a lot of our group has shared my story today and asked for other people to join on. So thank you guys for all that you do. And thank you for everyone who's kind of joined on today. You guys don't know how much it means to us, our families, and other families who are part of this call who aren't able to voice their to make their voice right now. But it does mean a lot to so many of us.
Yeah. And I just want to echo what you said. Exactly. Support, it means everything through this, because a lot of us don't get it. A lot of us and a lot of families are isolated in different areas. So our support is, a lot of it comes from other impacted families. And then when we're lucky, we meet other people like Nisa and them who, and like our exhibit you shared, that's beautiful. That's to honor your brother and the other ones. When people are killed by police, there's always, it leaves a bad taste in most of the community's mouth, and they don't offer support or want to. They often stick with the narrative of the police, the original narrative, or they just assume that our loved ones were doing something wrong and deserved it.
Yeah, absolutely.
So where are you guys, you and your family, it's been 2 years. Where are you guys at right now? You guys going through, I know you guys have a civil suit going.
So we got a civil suit going. We're trying to, again, just trying to keep, his story alive, just realizing that this was not okay. This is not okay. And that this should never be allowed moving forward. These cases have gone in many other states. And, again, I hope this is the last one where we can kind of finally say, like, this is where we're at. As you know, Marissa, we're in almost year 2 of our case, and we expect this probably to go at least another 5 to 7 years, and we will go to court until the end of it, and we won't go down without a fight. And
Yeah.
I know you feel, we've talked very briefly about it, but I know you feel the same.
Yes, absolutely. And many of the other families here watching with us also feel the same. We can't get our loved ones back, but we have their back. Like, you can't just murder someone. You can't just kill someone this way and get away with it. So we will be here fighting. And for me, 4 years, I it feels unreal sometimes. It feels like yesterday when I think about it still, but I'm still in the same, it's even more, my fire is even stronger now because so much has came to light. And then with that, just stories like your brothers, meeting families like you guys and all the other ones, it's just a buildup like, hey, no, this needs to stop. And we can't stop speaking or whatever we're doing. And for the families, I know a lot of people don't know what to do, don't know how to fight back, some don't know how to share their loved one's story, or they're too much in their grief and their pain to do it. So I just want to encourage you guys also just to stay strong, and everybody has a different role. This is what I chose to do. I was doing different stuff just, throughout the years. And this is what I'm doing now. I feel like uplifting the families directly and letting the world know, because what we're doing too after this is going to be uploaded to YouTube. So anytime someone looks up your brother's case, whether it's 5 years from now when you guys are in court, this is your testimony, this is your family's truth, and it'll be there.
Yeah, absolutely. And for people who want to continue to follow Families United for Justice Las Vegas on Facebook, we're in the process of creating a website. Your Voices of Strength is a great website. There's other great groups too to kind of follow that are and a positive meeting. Most importantly, that's what we're all about, is just being positive and figuring out what we can do to make the community a better place in a positive and productive way. So I think that's something that I'm really proud of our group, and is just kind of continuing to try to do it. We have 40 demands that we would like to do, and we could probably hopefully get one of them done at a time, but if it takes us 40 years, we may go the 40 years. So we hope that some of these local politicians will encourage police reform and encourage some of these changes.
Absolutely. And I think that's great. You guys are also working on the police reform. It's important. I wanted to touch on that earlier. I forgot that so many families, we're all in different states, different areas, different cities. Something that is really difficult for me is seeing everybody fight, but we're fighting against the different cities and departments. But it needs to be on a federal level. It needs to be across the board, because that's what's happening. Just as you mentioned, you guys are working on, you want to get rid of the restraint chair. So why should we have to, if it's like you said earlier, if it's not okay there and it's killed people, then that should be obvious that it's not okay anywhere. Yeah. So for me, sometimes it's hard. Like, do they want these killings to keep happening and these people to be tortured? Those are my thoughts on stuff like this. It gets really hard. We've gotten so many comments and we haven't went through any of them. I just want to just grab a couple of them.
Yeah, let's feel free to open it up for a couple questions, and we can just make this a little bit longer.
Yeah, we'll just go through a couple. I see Mallory. So proud of you, Eric, for all the love and effort poured into this fight. I'm just gonna go through a couple. Eric, we're here for you and support and love you. Maury's asking for the YouTube channel. I'll put that in the links in there. All previous episodes are on there as well, and will continue to be on there. And you guys can also find them at our Voices of Strength website, which is voicesofstrength.info. Just a lot of families saying they support you, and not just families, but other people as well. Yeah, if there's any, I know there have been a lot of questions too. So when you have free time, Eric, just go ahead and go through and you can see the questions that were directed at you. And I don't even know how many comments on here. There's way too many to go through. So.
Well, whether that's your follower, you're an active family, you've been through us, or you're just a friend in the community, or you're a friend of us, a friend of Nick's, or somehow it's tied in any means, just thank you. Please know that it means so much to us, and that you don't know, the pain that it kind of goes through, that we go through. that these families go through, the time and dedication that we put, that we hope that makes change for the future. But it really does mean a lot to us with you guys as our support system. You guys really do. You guys are really awesome. And shout out to my wife. I mean, she's incredible. She allows me to kind of put a lot of this into perspective and talks me through a lot of these things. And his daughters in particular, I just want to shout out a little extra love to them. They're so amazing. They're the most beautiful, gifted, smart people, and know that we're always here for them, and they will continue to be striving adults that we will help and guide through this crazy journey that we have. And I've told Ella before that I will always continue to fight for her, for Nick, and hope to make change one day. So
awesome. Thank you for sharing that. Just one last thing, and I'll let you go. I know we're a couple minutes over, but I just want to see if you have any quick words that for impacted families, maybe new ones that are coming into this fight.
I would say stay connected. Power in numbers. We're one family. We're one experience. But like I said, when I joined Families United for Justice Las Vegas, we have 40. We can get a lot more progress. We can get things heard. Our power is a lot more impactful. So try to band together with other families, try to network with other families, try to hear people's stories, stay strong, know that other people are going through a similar situation and it's not fun for any of us. But if we don't make change, it's going to happen to more people. And that's mostly what I'm worried about is trying to prevent this from happening. So stay strong, stay positive, contact other groups, contact myself. Our family is open for talks. Our group is open for, new families to join, and ways to help too. I mean, we're always looking for things to do or ways to help. And those are always great things. So I know Marissa's got a great following. Follow her as well. Listen to some of the other families. And we hope for Michael, Marissa's brother, to get some justice as well. So Marissa, I can't thank you enough for your time and your energy in putting this all together. You live this every week as you go through this, and I know that's a lot. And I just thank you for your time and your strength for doing this for all of our families.
Yeah, thank you. And I want to just end off with reminding the families, if you guys would like to share your loved one's story, connect with me. I also, Voices of Strength is not just about our loved ones. It's never just about my brother. This fight from the beginning, it was about all the lives that have been stolen, and you guys, you families, us families. So we care about the survivors as well. We have some families that are commenting about their loved ones who survived. So and survivors in there. I created a group, you guys, for Voices of Strength. It's a Facebook group. So if anybody wants to join there, the purpose of this will be for us families and supporters to be in there with Voices of Strength. More than anything, I want you guys to share your stories, but it's also for us to connect and speak more privately. And also if you guys have events to share with me. So with the event you guys are doing in Vegas, you can share that kind of stuff in there, and we'll get that distributed. And the impacted families are great, always willing to help and share for other families. So, and next week we will be back. The people probably don't know, I'm almost 9 months pregnant. I'm about to have my baby any day, but we will be back here. And if I'm not here, we'll have an awesome guest host. So, but we'll be back here week after week. The goal that I started for this is going through 2021. Every week we're hitting a different family. So make sure you guys like and follow the page, and we will be back next week. Thank you so much, Eric, for sharing, and shout out and much love to your nieces, Ella, and your family. I know it's hard to listen. It's hard to be here. So wishing you guys the best.
Yeah, we'll just do one. I don't know if you do the say his name. But we can try to end on that. So
Take it away. Yes.
Yeah, one thing that we do in our groups is we try to just say his name, and then we say Nick's name, and then we say it 3 times. And so
Okay.
we'll kind of end that way, and it kind of gives everyone a way to kind of join in as well. So say his name, Nicholas Farah. Say his name, Nicholas Farah.
Farah.
Say his name, Nicholas Farah.
Farah.
So again, we will continue to fight for you, Nick. Love you.
Rest in power. All right. Thank you guys. Thank you guys
Thanks,
for
everyone.
viewing. Bye.